Hello everyone, welcome to the live show 133 Buhanka Watch Redux, coming to you straight from Minsk, Belarus. I'm your host Dave, and tonight we're diving into the incredible Belarus-centric episode. Michael is going home to his favourite place from his second trip to this fascinating country, and he's ready to share his thoughts, experience and some jaw-dropping moments from the 80th anniversary victory parade to the Stalin line battle in Reenactment, Brest Fortress, Kosava Palace, Tadeusz Kościuszko House, the Mound of Glory, Stalag 352, Nesvizh Castle, and even the Belarus-Russia hockey showdown. This is a journey you don't want to miss. So grab a seat, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and let's get started. Okay, hello Michael again. Thanks for coming in.
I'm happy to come in anytime.
Can you bring that forward to me a bit? Yes.
Happy to come in anytime. Preferably in person.
In person, yes. Yes. And before we start, how do they get hold of you? Who are you? Where they can send you money?
So I'm Michael Delabrock. I run the Buhanka Watch, mostly Telegram chat. If you channel, I kind of try to aggregate news on Russia and Ukraine and interesting geopolitical events from a sort of a right-leaning angle. Also on Twitter, but that's kind of my own personal ramblings, and then Instagram, where I post like I'm a teenage girl. So if you ever want to see that and my travels around Belarus while I'm here, that's the where to find me. So if you just look up Michael Delabrock, it should, on those platforms, it should take you to them.
Had a complaint the other day is when I'm talking to you, I'm looking this way, and when you're talking to me, you're looking the other way. See, have a look.
Oh yeah.
People saying it was confusing. I have to fix that next time, but never mind. Okay. So what we'll do is I'll ask you a few questions and we'll watch some videos, and there you go.
Okay.
So Michael, what was the surprising difference you noticed on this second trip to Belarus compared to your first?
Well, the first trip was in late February, early March, so still a lot of snow on the ground, a lot of ice. This one, still a little bit chilly at points, but all the country is in bloom. The fields are green or yellow, with the crops growing, and it's a very different aesthetic. It's you come first, you get that sort of stereotypical grey, cold, snowy thing is what people would expect like the former USSR to be, and now I've come out and it's coming into early summer, and the country is just in brilliant green, brilliant colours, and I can imagine in a couple more months it's going to be even more vibrant. So that was the big thing. Alongside that, how people's dress changed between the couple months as well, from the heavy winter coats and stuff to not quite summer gear, but less
bulky stuff.
Yeah, less bulky stuff.
Less Mitchell and Mann stuff.
Pardon?
Less Mitchell and Mann stuff.
Yeah.
Which did you like, first or the second one?
Well, the first one, it was obviously it was unknown, all very novel, but this was still novel, but I had a bit of an idea of what to do and where to go. I don't know, I don't really think I could parcel out which one was better, the first or the second, but the first one probably because I had more time here. But certainly this certainly this time round, because there was a lot more cool Soviet stuff that I got to see as well, which I enjoyed, and I got out a fair bit outside Minsk as well in the short time here. So probably the second just edges it slightly.
Okay, speaking of Soviet stuff, the 80th anniversary victory parade sounded incredible. Can you describe the atmosphere and what stood out most to you?
So I've attended military parades, often British ones. Remembrance Day would probably be the closest analogy to Victory Day here. Those kind of parades are kind of a lot more somber. You don't really get vehicles out on display. You don't really get troops marching up and down unless you're in London or certain places. And it's all a very sedate, somber experience. Whereas Victory Day, it was bombastic. It was the tanks, the heavy vehicles, all in display. People celebrating the victory. It was all, what would be the right term? Like I say, very bombastic. which I quite enjoyed. It's nice to see all the vehicles that I've been talking about for years in motion, from the T-72s in the parade, the S-300s, the Tigers, and then even the nuclear armed discounters, which something I never thought I'd be able to say in my life, that I was within 5 meters of
close to a nuke.
Yeah, within 5 meters of a nuclear Russian missile. It's certainly an anecdote I could probably, very few people in the West can probably say. And also I got within 10 meters of Lukashenko as well, which was pretty cool. So
what did you think of the reception he got?
It seemed pretty good. I mean, I think you could parse out in the crowd sort of where people lay, the people who are clapping, and then people who are a bit more sedate. We went out drinking with some Belarusians after, and then one of them told us that Lukashenko says in 10 minutes what Putin can say in 5. Not too sure what to make of that or what the insinuation is there, but it seemed the crowd seemed to be quite receptive to it. And also, one thing that was certainly very different from like a crowd in Britain, obviously different cultures and stuff, but one thing that's probably a little bit of a negative just for me personally was and we've talked about this at times, is crowd etiquette, walking etiquette doesn't really seem to be as much as a big thing here.
Manners.
Yeah. Well, not so much manners, because you speak to them and they're very polite, but you know, while you're walking in the street, they walk in front of you, and it's just a different cultural habit. But the crowd as well was very quiet, whereas in the same crowd in Britain it'd be very loud. You'd have people, I don't want to say screaming, but you know, you'd have hooping and hollering and all kinds of different diverse groups going about making a noise in a scene. This crowd was very, very sedate, very quiet. Obviously people were talking amongst each other and you could hear it through the crowd, but you know, there wasn't shouting and screaming and the like. So I found
drunken behavior.
Pardon?
No drunken behavior.
No drunken behavior. Plus I don't think they were allowing alcohol into the crowd for the security stands, but a lot of families, very family oriented is how I found it. So. And
that's for you.
Oh, thank you. I was wondering where to find these, so I just so this is a little ribbon they were wearing. Belarusians were wearing, some of them, I think largely Russians, were wearing the ribbon as St. George, which is what I wore with a poppy. So I put a little bit of British slant on it for the common victory.
I got that for the parade, but I forgot to give it to you. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else about the parade?
Well, I mean, I could sit here and talk about how cool it was to watch the Russians, the Kazakhs, the Chinese. I did find it quite funny. I think he was a Chinese major for the People's Liberation Army contingent that came. I kind of felt sorry for him because this guy's obviously a career officer, probably spent 10, 15 years working his way up for the ranks. And then you had all the Chinese tourists and students were giving him their phone for him to go over and take a selfie of himself in front of their contingent and then go back and give the phone, and he was doing that for about 40 minutes before they ended up marching down to the stands. So I found that quite funny, but I have to say the drill was quite sharp, apart from the Azeris, who were just kind of meandering at their own pace, but the drill amongst all the contingents, from the young cadets to the Belarusian police, the reenactors, the Russians, the Kazakhs and the Chinese, it was very, very sharp.
We'll see some video after this. Okay.
Ровно 80 лет прошло с того легендарного майского дня, когда советские войска завершили разгром берлинской группировки немецких войск и полностью овладели столицей фашистской Германии. Завершилась самая жестокая и кровопролитная в истории человечества война.
There's the president.
Президент Республики Беларусь, главнокомандующий вооруженными силами. Знаменные группы от роты почетного караула начинают движение по проспекту Машерова с государственным флагом Республики Беларусь и Минского гарнизона к параду. В Встречает главу военного ведомства, командующий парадом, заместитель министра обороны генерал-майор Александр Науменко.
Поздравляю вас с 80-й годовщиной победы в Великой Отечественной войне. Товарищ президент Республики Беларусь, войска Минского гарнизона к параду готовы. Министр обороны генерал-лейтенант Хренин.
Дорогие ветераны Великой Отечественной войны, уважаемые соотечественники и гости Беларуси, это победа.
Всему миру известны легендарные имена летчиков Александра Горовца, Сергея Грицевца, Павла Головачева, Петра Стефановского, Леонида Беды. Значимый вклад в покорение космоса внесли летчики-космонавты. В небе над столицей в боевом порядке «Клин» идут военно-транспортный самолет Ан-26 и звено реактивных учебно-боевых самолетов нового поколения Як-130 116-й Республики Беларусь. Ил-76 пилотирует военный летчик первого класса майор Виталий Сильчонок, ведущий группы самолетов Л-39 подполковник.
Продолжают шествие со знаменем Белорусского союза суворовцев и кадет «Юные патриоты», сводный парадный расчет из учащихся 9 кадетских училищ и специализированного лицея МВД Китайской Народной Республики. Шествие продолжает парадный расчет курсантов Михайловской военной артиллерийской ордена Ленина, Краснознаменной ордена Жукова Академии Вооруженных сил Российской Федерации. Во главе парадного расчета полковник Дмитрий Хлопунов. С флагом вида Вооруженных сил и боевым знаменем к трибунам приближается парадный расчет командования военно-воздушных сил и войск противовоздушной обороны. Во главе расчета заместитель командующего полковник Михаил Матросов. На параде 45-го, так и сегодня неотъемлемой частью проведения военного парада является механизированная колонна. В составе механизированной колонны ретро-образцы и современная боевая техника. На марше колонна танков Т-72Б3. Командует парадным расчетом гвардии майор Сергей Самонов.
T-72B3s.
Мощные бронированные машины, прошедшие глубокую модернизацию, отличаются улучшенным комплексом вооружения, новой силовой установкой, современными цифровыми средствами связи щуп. Боевая машина предназначена для доставки десанта и огневой поддержки личного состава, уничтожения живой силы и легко бронированной техники неприятеля. На технической сфере нашей страны с Китайской Народной Республикой. Перед трибуной бронированные транспортные средства «Кайман». Залп одной боевой машины поражает живую силу и легко бронированную технику противника на дальности свыше 20 километров и площади до 35 тысяч квадратных метров. На марше боевой комплекс «Искандер-М». Во главе расчета подполковник Максим Зубков. С Сбить ракету «Искандера» практически невозможно за счет специальной конструкции корпуса, высокой скорости, активного маневрирования и комплекса.
12 военнослужащих штатных подразделений почетного караула Минской военной комендатуры, Государственного пограничного комитета и внутренних войск МВД.
Okay, we're back. You've visited the Stalin Line battle reenactment from the Great Patriotic War, or World War II for those in the West. How did you feel to witness that history brought to life?
Again, another cool thing. Could never happen in Britain because they're setting off pyrotechnics everywhere.
Oh yeah, you could feel it, couldn't you?
Yeah. It's good. I'm not too sure what they were because there's a bunch of guys. You could see them running out and putting them in the bin, and they're like plastic bags. So I don't know what the pyrotechnics themselves must have been because they kept putting these like plastic bags in the bins that kept doing the explosions. But yeah, it was pretty cool to see the World War II vehicles, the Panzers, the Stalag.
Like this one here.
Yeah, the Panzer.
I'll just turn down there.
Yeah, I believe that'll be. I did notice that the German soldiers were using SKSs and AKs, which was a little bit of a historical anachronism, but still very cool to see the Stug and the Panzers and the Panzersperrwagen in motion. And then later on you've seen the T-44 and the T-34 in motion on the Russian side, and I think it's a BA-6, the little scout car. Obviously these guys must be doing this every day for a couple of times a day, so it probably gets repetitive for them, but they put in a good effort. It was a good show, very enjoyable to watch.
Apparently it was the Battle of Moscow. That's what they were reenacting.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Not enough snow for the Battle of Moscow, so no problem. Yeah. But, we'll let that slide. But, yeah, as the previous episodes went to the Stalin Line last time, so we didn't really do a proper tour of it because kind of already done it. But there's a lot of crowds there this time.
Yeah, look how deep it is there.
Yeah, and obviously they don't have health and safety culture like in Britain because there's people climbing up the railings.
Yeah, on the stands, hanging off.
And police just standing by them, just didn't care. And it's like in Britain, this, the entire event would be shut down. These people getting fined and.
Would the pyrotechnics be that close in England?
Oh no.
Yeah.
I very much doubt it. I'm sure the Stalin Line in this country, museum exhibits, they allow you to climb over the tanks and explore them, whereas in Britain you don't, be cordoned off, you fall off. You could sue the museum and put in a claim, whereas here it just seems very much like, well, if you fall off, it's your own fault.
Yeah, dickhead. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Just another reason why I love this country, the attitude they have here. It's like what home used to be about 20, 30 years ago, if not further.
They have this reenactment every Independence Day as well, day before and on the day. So anybody's here on July 3rd, you can come and see it at the Stalin Line.
Dave's already trying to coax me out. He's trying to get me out every other month.
Yeah. Yeah. Once every quarter.
I just might not just. Why do I even leave? Might as well just stay.
Yeah, exactly. So he heard that and he wants to stay. So send him money.
Wow.
Send him money so he can stay here. You'll make him happy. So yeah, this is part of it still going on.
Yeah.
I think the Russians won this, didn't it?
I believe they did win it in the end. Yeah. So a little anachronism. The Panzer Trooper there is using a PPSH-43, which is a Soviet weapon, whereas it should probably be an MP-40. Just for those who are autistically into military stuff like I am. But no, it was a good show.
It went on for what? What was it, about 10, 20 minutes?
I think the full thing, because they did the circle, then they came back, so I think probably about 30 minutes in total, 30, 40 minutes it was pushing. Yeah. But lots of crowds from Russia. I think if you're in Russia, I imagine Red Square is probably like central London on New Year's Eve, unless you know someone, you're not getting in there. So I think if you're in like Smolensk, Bryansk, the parade there probably isn't gonna, probably a decent parade, but you know, if you really want to see a parade and stuff with big song and dance, Belarus is probably the best bet. So I think there's a lot of cars with Russian license plates, so I think there's a lot of Russians, a lot of Russian carcades. So I think everyone came out from Western Russia who couldn't get into Moscow for the anniversary. But the kids loved it, like whenever the Soviets overrun the Germans, you've seen all the kids going, "Hurrah!"
Yeah.
So great for the kids.
Like I said, Independence Day as well, you get, they've got BMP and helicopter rides there. So there you go. There's another reason to come back.
Блядь.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Oh. Okay. And then we went to the Brest Fortress. It was nearly a 4-hour drive from Minsk, and it's a powerful symbol of resilience. What emotions or thoughts did it evoke for you during your visit? And for everybody that doesn't know, Brest Fortress was the first place the Germans attacked in Operation Barbarossa.
Yeah, so pretty much all the monuments here, like they play the Sacred War, the Soviet anthem, which is a very powerful theme as you go through the gates. Then it's obviously in Russian, so I could only pick up parts of it, but then they play the radio news announcement from the day from Moscow announcing the invasion. And then just through this gate that's being shown now with the red star is you've got two little portico, like little gates going down, which have the ribbons of St. George on it. So
Yeah, there you can hear it now.
yeah.
Dun.
Yeah, so it certainly puts you in a certain mind frame, and then if you know a bit of the history of the place, you learn about Barbarossa in the West, and it's still kind of hard to get your mindset around it, but then once you've been in Belarus for a while, and it's kind of a sad part about this country is in many ways it's just a giant memorial. Everywhere you go, there's a memorial to some massacre, there's a memorial to some battle.
Yeah, most people don't know that just over 25% of the population was murdered here.
Yeah, and you turn a street corner and like you'll find a memorial like so many people died in this street. So it is, the country is very somber in a bizarre kind of way, but the people are very happy whenever you speak to them. So you do get cognizant that this is a country that is unfortunately has a very tragic history. And then like a lot of the memorials are very bombastic, you know, it's about the victory that we won to secure essentially our existence as a people. Brest Fortress is more of a somber occasion. The music's very sedate, and because obviously this is where it all began, this is where the horrors began. So you learn about Barbarossa and the rest in the West, but it's hard to really wrap your head around the scale of it, the suffering, the fighting. Like I say, I'm a bit autistically into history and the like, so I knew of the Battle of Brest and kind of what occurred there, but then actually see it in person, to see the gate, the famous gate, and be like, oh, this is where it happened, this is where it started. Like half a mile the other way is the modern border of Poland. 80 years ago, that's where, well, 84 years ago, that's where the Wehrmacht would have crossed the Bug River and would have all began. So it's a very powerful feeling to experience. And then while we were there, I believe the president of Zimbabwe, and I think, don't quote me on this, but I also believe that Alexander Vucic was in attendance as well while we were down there. So very powerful experience.
Here's the red gate here.
Yeah, the famous gate that anytime you see pictures of Brest, it's always this gate, and it's always pop marked with the damage from the battle. And at certain points, it's all in Russian. Thankfully, we had a great young Canadian who speaks a lot of Russian. Shout out to him. Don't know if he wants me to name him, but
He's been on the show before.
yeah, he was translating some of the plaques, just outlining the feats of some of the men, of where they fell in the battle and what they achieved, how long they lasted. So, because the bulk of the fighting, you have to understand, this is like late June, summer in Eastern Europe, so very warm. punishing heat. So there was like a memorial to the Soviet soldiers who crawled down to the river to scoop water up from their helmets as they fought. Some of them, the bulk of the fighting lasted for 6 days. Some of them managed to hide in the ruins. Up to a month later, they were still fighting the Germans. So it's you do get cognizant of the sacrifices that these people made during this battle, and essentially the start of 4 years of horror for these people.
And after that, we left and we went to Kosava Palace, which is a stunning location. What was your favourite part of exploring it, and why?
I mean, the palace was nice. I'd recommend you do go to Palace, but if I'm going to be honest, I really enjoyed just driving through rural Belarus. That was my favourite part, just driving along these rustic forest roads out into the countryside. I really enjoyed that, to really pick up the scenery. That I'm going to be honest, is my favourite part of that. But the palace itself was stunning, as you can see, almost like a ornate Christmas cake type thing. But inside of it, I don't know if it was like a lacquer, but they had these things at the side of the road. They were like a ruby brown, and then there was like a lime green one. I didn't know if it was lacquer or whatever. I was fascinated by it, or if it was like a type of, not marble, but some kind of stone as well, highly polished. It was amazing to see. So I've been
Was it a ceramic maybe?
potentially a ceramic. I kind of thought it was lacquer originally seeing it, but the scale of it, I was like, I couldn't be lacquer at that size. But it's very nice. I mean, I've been to a couple of stately homes in Britain, but these are on another scale of ornate.
Well, this was destroyed during World War II, so obviously it's been refurbished, as we can see inside now.
That's one you just seen a clip of it at the edge there. These little things.
Heating. They're for heating.
Oh, are they?
Yeah. Because it's actually ceramic, so when it heats up, it
like
keeps
a
warm.
hypocaust kind of
keeps
thing.
warm.
Okay.
Yeah. That's why there's one in every room.
I've also noticed that these the castles we've been to as well is the only country I've ever seen it is they give you like these little medical shoe coverings as well.
So you don't damage the floor.
Yeah, I've never really seen that.
They do that in a lot of places,
Anywhere.
like the dentist and everything during winter. Actually, a lot of businesses in winter, they won't let you in unless you wear them as well. So
Yeah, I guess it makes sense. You don't want to trape in sleet and
then they've got to clean them and start again. So this is inside here. The video. There's another one close as well. Next time you're here in July, we can go to another one that's close.
In July. Dave's offered to pay to bring me out. That's it. There's
another one.
That's the scam that's being run.
Yeah. There's another one. There's another one close.
They've
been refurbishing it.
So ornate.
You can hear us walking with those plastic things on our feet.
Yeah. And again, lots of Russians as well with this.
Yeah, I was surprised everywhere we went there was a lot of Russians.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know if it's a holiday, like a bank holiday weekend or something in Russia for Victory Day, but many of them seems to have come out to Belarus for it.
So the guy who built this owns a few of them, or built a few, so he had a few around the place. This was originally, of course, in Polish territory.
So it is interesting to contrast it with like a British stately home, because like British stately home is the walls in these seem a little bare. I don't know if you've ever been in the British stately home. Usually the curtains and big paintings, or there'd be like a tapestries, or the walls would be like clad in some kind of wood, teak or something like that, or.
There's one of those things there.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah,
it's for heating. It's for heating.
Yeah.
There you go.
See what I mean? It kind of has like a lacquery glisten to it. And this house was up on a hill, and you had a stunning view of rural Belarus, just the fields, the forest beyond it. So we picked a good strategic spot to put the house. So I've been to a couple castles now, and a lot are like this. There used to be like old Polish ones which have done up, refurbished. So I would imagine the other castles, they're probably derelict in Soviet times, or...
Well, next time you're here,
Yeah.
we'll go to a couple more. We'll go to the one where that guy's refurbishing with his own money.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a business, and he's slowly building a new one. So there you go. And then just in front of, I should be there. Just in front of that house is another small wooden structured house, as you can see in the background here. You'll see it on the video in a minute. And this is Tadeusz Kościuszko's. Now, we say Kościuszko in Australia because that's the tallest mountain in Australia is named after him. When I said that to my wife, she laughed at me because apparently that's not how you say it, but that's how we say it in Australia. So this is the man. He's ended up a general, won a lot of battles for everybody, and he's also the man that helped start West Point in the USA. So what about learning his Belarusian roots did impact your perspective?
I knew that West Point was founded by a Pole, but I wasn't aware exactly of the history of him, and I guess I was more interested in how Belarusians would view him, because obviously an ethnic Pole, the Poles aren't here anymore, just like how they view this. And then there's portraits inside the house of West Point graduates coming out in 2006. So I'm more interested, curious as to how the Belarusians view him, because he's a national hero here as well in Poland, and I think France as well. I think he fought for Napoleon. I mean, obviously this is a eternal blood enemy of my country. At every opportunity seems to have fought against us. So
there's a lot of statues everywhere across America for him as well. If you have a look in Boston and other places. So this is inside the house here. Very basic.
But then this would have been like a minor aristocrat's house back then.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah, I suppose compared to then, especially with the furniture and all that, compared to what everybody else had.
Yeah. But I do like how they're preserving this history, even if it's pre the accession of these territories to Belarus. How they're intent on keeping the memory and the history of the land alive.
And we didn't have to wear booties for this one.
No, not for this one. Not the rustic wooden floors. Yeah. Also, as someone with a history degree, a useless degree in Britain, I do appreciate that at all these places, no matter how rural or rustic they are, is you've always got like a woman who's obviously a history graduate, always giving tours. So, maybe I need to come out here and put that history degree to use in a language I don't yet speak.
Yeah, I don't think I showed downstairs, but there was a cellar as well, which we went down to. So
it was just kind of bare anyway. So.
Yeah, exactly. So the Mound of Glory is a significant monument. We went there last time, but it was closed because they were refurbishing it for Victory Day. Can you share what it was like to stand there and what it represents to Belarusians?
So, from my understanding, the Mound of Glory, it's made from the rubble of various cities. So I'm bad at estimating heights. How tall do you think it reaches?
Keep talking, I'll find out.
Okay. So you climb up this mound, and then it's a beautiful view of all around the surrounding territory. Just to the east of Minsk, it's actually on the road to Moscow, heading east. And amazing views of the surrounding area, because it's an artificial mound, but it towers, because Belarus tends to be quite flat, from my experience anyway. It's sort of gently rolling hills, but this is high above the surrounding terrain, so you get beautiful views of all the area. And then you've got the ornate Soviet mosaics inside of it, and then sort of like these bas reliefs of faces of soldiers and the like.
Yeah, so it's 21 kilometers from Minsk, down the Moscow highway. It was established 1969 on the 25th anniversary of the liberation of Belarus during Operation Bagration. And so far that's it. Keep going.
So it's like a bunch of metal spires that stick up into the air with this circular, I don't know how to describe it. There's like a little circular structure that stretches out from them, which is Soviet mosaics in the inside, and on the outside you've got these bas reliefs of the faces of various, I think they're like soldiers and partisans. It was hard to see from whenever you're actually up there at the front of it without falling down, but
There we go. It says it's 35 meters.
35 meters. Yeah, so that's going to be very high up. And then the whole area is like this. Is footage is showing you've got some military vehicles. Only a couple of those were there whenever we were there last time. So we went in the winter, and you couldn't climb it because they were fixing up. But again, lots of Russians there. I think just as we were leaving, there's a bus full of militia in their dress uniforms turned up to come see it as well. So it was a very good view of the surrounding territory. And
when I went there the first time, there was 2 tanks.
2 tanks.
And then there was 4 tanks. And then there was tanks and a plane. And then a Stalin organ. And now there was all these. So.
Yeah, and as always, the kids were climbing all over the tanks. I'm like, if this was in Britain, just...
Yeah, not allowed.
Yeah. And that's just in general a big thing about Belarus is how well they maintain everything. It's very good how clean everything is, how the grass is always kept in check.
On Victory Day, there was a big event down here as well.
Yeah, I think you were talking about how you plan to min-max as much as you could. Go here for 20 minutes, quickly jump in the car, drive somewhere else to get footage there. There was like 4 or 5 different events in Minsk.
Yes.
And you were trying to plan out how it can hit them
probably
all.
do it. Yeah, probably do it. Hit them all,
Yeah.
one after the other.
So that's the inside of the circular structure. So all very cool, very nice little drive out of Minsk.
Yeah, it's on the way to the international airport.
And I think 600 miles down that road, Moscow.
Mm-hmm.
So here, Brest Fortress, a couple other stuff I've seen, like Soviet monumental architecture. It certainly has a certain flair to it, certain style. Because in Britain you get the cenotaph, you get the war memorials in every town, but in the former USSR, like, you've got 100-foot tall plinths and big concrete monuments, and it really did things on a different scale.
Yeah. At night, those stairs are lit up
Yeah.
as well. So, and also the monument at the top. You'll have to go back in July when it's
July is at it, yeah. July, September, November.
Christmas 1, Christmas 2. Okay, and then we went visiting to Stalag 352, which is a German Soviet power camp that must have been heavy. What was the experience like? I'll just let everybody know what it was about. And how did that affect you? There was 80,000 Soviet soldiers were murdered there by the Germans.
It's in it's in built-up Minsk. It's not far from the outskirts of the city, but it's just, you drive along a highway and then you've just got this very ornate church, and then next to it this little wooden plot. And the plot really isn't that big, like I would say about maybe 10 meters across and 50 meters in length, and then just you have these these outlines of where the grave pits are, and it's hard to think that 80,000 people perished in such a small space.
Yeah.
So
Most of them got starved to death, apparently.
So again, it's another example of just the tragic history that seems seeped into the soil here. Kind of feel bad because I've come to this country and basically I'm just always seeing the horrific history of the place. It's
death.
yeah. Again, it kind of reinforces why they've got the national flag everywhere and why they're very proud of who they are.
So this area, they've got 1 or 2 headstones for soldiers, but underneath that there's lots of, obviously, these are mass burial pits.
Symbolic book of granite book of all the names of everyone who perished.
Yeah. Can hear the dog.
Yeah, my little friend.
Yeah, your little friend. Okay, and then we went to Nesvizh Castle, which is a UNESCO site with deep history. Was there a highlight of your time there?
It was cool seeing the old weapons they had on display, the Brown Bess rifles from England. I'm sure they must have had some story about how they ended up in Belarus. So again, just another ornate castle, very, very beautiful. Just an experience to get out of Minsk and see wider Belarus. I was struck by how Central European it looks to me. Like that castle, to me, I'd expect somewhere in Poland. I guess this was Poland, but Poland, Hungary, somewhere like that. It looks very Central European in its architecture, and all the writing was in Latin because again, it was built during the Polish era. Again, just struck by how many Russians they were. All the cars, Russian license plates.
Yeah, I was surprised.
Yeah. And then there's some beautiful churches in the town next to it, and a beautiful lake. I can imagine in June, July, it must be great swimming in there. So like this looks like almost like a market square in Germany or Hungary or Austria. I was saying there's a castle in central Budapest in the Millennium Park. Obviously architecturally a little bit different, but it reminded me of that. If anyone's ever been to Budapest and they know the castle I'm talking about, it's just next to the ice rink. How did you like India? So yeah, beautiful wood paneling.
Yeah, it was very busy, this one.
Yeah. Yeah, we struggled to get parked briefly.
I always offer people that when they come here to show them around, but maybe that's going to stop.
Oh.
I've seen these places like 50 times now each time.
Should start charging? Well, I shouldn't say that because that's gonna. No, don't. No.
No charging. No, I like to show people what it's like around the area and all that sort of thing. You get a different view of from the propaganda in the West.
Yeah. Well, again, I was lucky the first time, but you know, I have to keep reminding myself I may not make it home with my life.
Yeah,
this place.
at the border.
Yeah.
There's a Soviet war, a great Patriotic War memorial outside at the front. So, and then we went to a hockey game as well. You attended the Belarus versus Russia hockey game. Unfortunately, Belarus lost, but they won the series. There was a Belarusian there who said that Belarus didn't play properly just to let Russia win one game at least.
I think three of us owe him, was it 7 beers each?
7 beers each, yes. Because we said they were still going to win, but they never did. It was 3-1, unfortunately. What was the energy like in the arena? Which side did you pick to cheer for? Well, I know which side you picked to cheer for in Belarus.
Yeah, it was quite. Well, I'm not much of a sports person, but it was a good experience. I really liked the little pre-show game on the ice. I have to say, some of these ice skaters, they're so talented in what they're able to do, and the cheerleaders. I have to say, cheerleaders are a very nice sight. But it's nice. It was interesting to hear the Russian national anthem for, like, you know, not on TV or anything, but be there. It's something.
Yeah, here's the show at the start.
Yeah. So I like this. They put the big song and dance in for everything here. Whether it's ice on the ice rink or if it was on stage at the concert, it's the figurative dancing and skating and stuff. And so I think I looked up this song afterwards, and it's like a, you know, like in the early 2000s you'd have like teen pop. Apparently this is the Belarusian version of it, and the song is what have you done for the motherland?
Yeah.
It's just like, it's so wholesome.
Yeah.
Compared to what teenagers are doing back home now.
So the teams came out on the ice. Russia on the left there, and here comes the Belarusian players out. And I was able to buy a hockey jersey, which is on the wall here now. And then obviously we had the Russian anthem. You notice the crowd was very respectful for this anthem as well. Like it was theirs.
No jeering, no booing.
No. For the team, yes, but not for the anthem. Yeah.
Some of the Belarusians that were actually singing the Russian national anthem, because I know some of the people around us, they sang for that, and then they sang for the Belarusian one, and they were waving Belarusian. So no more hockey now until the end of the year, unfortunately. Okay.
So you'll have to come back in September for the next start of the season.
There we go. So like that gentleman who we owe 7 beers, who's going to have to wait till September.
Yeah. I think we need to buy like 4 seats the whole season, I think, just for people coming and going. It's not a bad cost. I think it cost, here's the Belarusian one now. It costs Mitchell, the Canadian, about 135 Canadian dollars for the whole season, which is alright.
How many games is that?
30 plus or something.
Okay, so fair amount. 135 Canadian dollars. What would that be in rubles? So, what is it? Is it 80 Canadian cents to the dollar, the US dollar?
Yeah, something like that.
So you're talking about 400 rubles, somewhere around there.
Of course, obviously you don't get it from the video, but everybody was singing.
Yeah.
Place was packed at 12,500 people.
And I have to give it to Mitchell. He speaks Russian very well. He was singing it.
Yeah.
He's probably the most fervent Belarusian
holding a scarf like this.
Yeah.
One of these scarves.
Yeah. He was so into it, and he spoke it so well. The mother in front of him had to tell her daughter, "You don't say that word."
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a bit. We'll just show a bit of the game and then we'll move on. So. I don't go and see other games, like other sports, but I like this one because of the crowd, the atmosphere, and
nice atmosphere.
Yeah, everybody cheering, and the one in Alaska, they give everybody a cowbell.
Cowbell. Ring it.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. And the stairs and the stands were wood, so everybody's thumping their feet. So it's like it's in Anchorage. Just watch a bit of this and then we'll get up to the cheerleaders and then we'll stop and move on to the next bit. So the cheerleaders are not on the edge of the ice. There's 3 of them on each stairs between in the stands, and they dance and they're all coordinated. Have you noticed?
Yeah, I did notice that, yeah.
All the way through. They're quite good, yeah. So, and they change outfit for each period. So 3 changes.
That as well, yeah.
I'm sure you did notice a lot of that. And they were near us. So, unfortunately, like I said, 3-1, Russia won, but Belarus won the series and the cup for it until next year.
So was this the Continental League game, or?
This was just the best players from Belarus, from the other teams, and then I think the Russians was the under-25 one.
Oh, okay.
Because just lost a goal there. Because a lot of the Russian good players are in NHL still playing, and some of the Belarusian ones as well. So yeah, and obviously in the centre there's a huge screen. And you've probably seen videos on the channel of this. But it's not bad. See if I can find... I'll just wait a bit, sort of bore people a bit. Just get to the cheerleading bit. And of course, between periods, lots of beer was drunk.
Wow.
By Mitchell.
Yeah.
And he's got it set. He goes out and his beer's ready for him.
Yeah, he's got it all coordinated. Time to see.
Yeah, doesn't have to line up and wait.
Yeah, it's stereotypical Canadian.
Yeah. Anyway. Oh, there we go. There's the cheerleaders. So this was near us, and between the stands, there's 3 of them. Oh, there we go. Anyway. So, which... Whoops. I'll grab both of us on there instead. There we go. Which of these locations left the deepest impression on you, and why?
I'd have to say the parade.
Of course.
Yeah, the parade is so cool.
Yeah.
It's good to see, like I say, to see all the vehicles and stuff, that weapon systems I've been talking about for years in motion. And like I say, to be able to tell people, it's within 5 meters of a Russian nuclear missile. How many people can say that?
That's true. How has this trip changed or deepened your understanding of the Belarusian culture and history?
I'm eager to see more of the country. I was glad to get down to Brest. Some of these little jaunts we did out into the country and speak to more Belarusians, and I'm more interested in the language. I'm pleasantly surprised by how much I'm not saying I'm anywhere competent in it, but I'm surprised by how many words I'm starting to recognize. I wouldn't be confident in speaking it at any length to anyone, but I'm pleasantly surprised by my sort of growing understanding of the language of Russian, and what has this done for my understanding and perspective of the country? Just so I need to come back to more.
July.
Yeah.
Were there any unexpected challenges or funny moments during your travels that you can share with us? Maybe the subway one. That's a funny moment.
Oh, wow, that's a bit embarrassing. Don't want to say.
Oh, okay.
I managed to do a somersault over the. I put in the token into the subway because some of them have these little gates that are really low, so you don't quite see it. And I had my coat, so I didn't see it. And I went over and made a twat out of myself and somersaulted over that. But there's a guy called Igor. First proper experience of alcoholism here. Bit humorous, bit not. We came across me and Mitchell, a heavily inebriated gentleman staggering along the road who was falling over, so we helped him up. We went to a shop, we came out, he'd come down the stairs, thankfully didn't break his neck, but then fell over. So we went over to help him. As we were walking over to help him, he was like in the middle, because obviously sidewalks are very big here, especially on the avenues. There we just seen him starting to stagger over to the left, and we're like, he's going to go into traffic. So I think he broke his nose in that fall. So that was a interesting experience. But big contrast with Britain is you went over and helped him and he didn't want to fight us. He was just asking us where we're going for the next drink, and it's like, no, Igor, I think I've had too much. Whereas in Britain, chances are he'd probably start swinging at us. And so I do like the sure, there's fights and stuff here, but you don't see, like in Zivitskaya or the other places where there's bars, is you don't see people just fighting in the street. The alcohol, the drinking culture here at least doesn't have the mindless fuggery that British drinking culture here, which I really appreciate. I'm very reserved. I don't really drink unless rarely. The one time I did get very drunk here, I got scammed by Nazari, so lesson learned not to drink. But yeah, it's one of the highlights of the anecdote. Whenever we were coming back from Brest, we stopped off at the war memorial, and the old gentleman came out, probably wondering why we parked in front of his house.
Village, yeah.
Then we got speaking to him, Ivan, and he was telling, once
he wasn't terrible.
Yeah, once you got the
Ivan
rapport, it's just the same with all Belarusians, is they're very reserved people, but once you speak to them and have a bit of rapport with them, they're most accommodating people. Like he was telling us the history of the war memorial. He was telling Mitchell about his family that moved to Canada, showing us pictures of because I wanted to stop to take some pictures of a little war memorial out in the country, and he could be more accommodating, telling us the history about it. And it's just a common experience. Is very, like I say, they might come across as very cold and very reserved, but once you have a rapport with them, I don't think I've met nicer, more accommodating people. They're always trying to show you their home or tell you about the history of something, or they're very also another thing is they're very appreciative for me coming here. I've had people tell me thank you for coming here, so I think there's probably an understanding that they get a very bad rap in the West. The British Home Office says don't go to Belarus, you may not return with your life. There's rampant crime in Minsk, pickpocketing I think was the big thing they're talking about, and you come here and you're like, really? Yeah,
you can leave your wallet or bag in a food court and come back, it's still there.
Yeah. And so I think they themselves understand that they're getting an unfair reputation and rap in the West. So whenever they have, especially English speakers, is they're very curious why you're here, and they love to speak to you, practice their English with you. And if you know a few words in Russian, like I do, they're very, like Mitchell, who speaks it fluently, who's basically a celebrity. He hates being said that, but anywhere he goes, people recognize him. But just making the effort with them is they're extremely appreciative.
He's hard not to recognize.
Wow, that as well, yeah. But I'm just, I love the people, I love the country. Glad to have a bit more interactions with Belarusians this time, and next time I come back, hopefully even more, get out of Minsk. Wanted to go to Gomel this trip, but it just wasn't feasible, so maybe next time. But just to get out, because I don't want to, like the typical Western tourist is they go to the capital city or big city, and they meander about, but they don't really interact with the people. They go see the sights, see the restaurant, and then they
go to the Irish bar.
Yeah, or British pub or something like that. That's not my style. This is why I don't stay in hotels. It's why I try to stay in apartments and stuff like here, and just try and get the experience, go out in the shops, explore, have interactions with them as much as my poor Russian will take me. But yeah.
Okay, it's your second trip. For someone planning the first trip to Belarus, which of these places would you recommend that we just watched they absolutely should visit, and why? Obviously the parade's only every 2 years, so
yeah. Well, I think that parade was only once every 5 years or something, is it?
No, it's every 2 years, but this was special because it was the 80th as well,
80th,
so
okay.
yeah, so it's slightly bigger than normal. Next July 3rd will be the Independence one.
If you do come to Minsk, there's a lot to see in Minsk. So Minsk is a very easy navigable city once you get an idea of it. But in terms of it, the Stalin line's a good trek out. But my recommendation, which is what I still want and need to do, is just to get out of Minsk as well. You know, Minsk is nice and there's lots to see in Minsk, the architecture, but to probably see a country, like I was saying, you know, you don't just want to go to the city. You want to, obviously, you might need a bit of the language or something, but even just take a car out into the countryside and just explore, see the villages, see the countryside, because it's, you know, a city is a city, but it's out in the countryside, the rural landscape, where you'll get a vibe for what it's actually like in the countryside in Belarus, especially now during the summer, whenever everything's in bloom. It's very beautiful, and I can imagine even in the height of winter, whenever it's really cold, that's probably beautiful in its own right as well. But the Great Patriotic War Museum in Minsk, the Galleria, obviously Zibitskaya, where you go and get drunk, if that's your kind of thing. Just if you do go to Zibitskaya and get drunk, do not take one of the Azeri taxis. My bank card is still blocked. So
again, after the second trip, what's one new thought or perspective you taking away from Belarus that you didn't have from the first trip?
Just how different the seasons are. You know, the difference in 2 months, it's pretty astounding just how the aesthetics and the atmosphere of the country changes between that sort of late winter to early summer, just how the change in the color and the tones of the place. And I also think in the people as well, so they seem a bit more chirpier and outgoing in the summer as well. So that just how there are seasons here. That's the big thing, where it was in Britain it's just grey and dull and rainy all the time. Here it's the summers are warm, the winters are cold, and I like that, the differentiation in the so.
Okay, cool, thanks.
But by the next time, it's a little project, I will make the little dog love me. Let me pet her.
Yeah, the dog.
The Doberman that sits in the corner occasionally. Yeah.
Good luck on that. And you can see her on his Instagram account. There you go. Yeah. So there you go. Okay. Thanks for coming in again. One more time. How many people? Where can they get you? How can they send you money?
Wow.
How can they shower you with love?
Shower me with love. But like I say, if you look up Michael Delabrock, hopefully it should take you to my Twitter, my Telegram. If you look up Buhanka Watch, I do have a YouTube out there, which I'm not really doing much with, but I'm hoping to upload some videos, so hopefully that'll come up if you look on it. But Instagram, X, and Telegram, Michael Delabrock or Buhanka Watch should hopefully bring you to my accounts if you're interested in my spurgings and rantings about geopolitics, but also my rambles around hopefully more of Belarus.
You need to subscribe to him, so when he has a live stream you can hear him spout his wisdom.
Wow. Some would say wisdom, others would say I'm a shill, paid shill for whatever government that they
with the checks. They haven't arrived yet.
Yeah,
exactly. Okay, everybody, thanks for tuning into show 133 Buhanka Watch Redux. Thank you for coming in.
I'm happy anytime.
Yeah, and thanks for tuning in, everybody. And until Sunday, goodbye.
And hopefully see you again live in the studio before
July.
long. Yeah, that's July thing. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe September. Maybe July, but definitely September. Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
See ya.